What is going on, everybody? I'm here Wednesday. It's BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets, and you can tell we don't have a whole lot going on DFS-wise. Obviously, keeping you up to date on that. Obviously, guys like me and Sheets, we need to keep our brains busy. So I've jumped back into poker a little heavier than I initially planned to. Had a good run yesterday. Sheets we played a little tournament together, but it got us sort of thinking, like, why don't let's talk a little bit about the past. Sheets has a lot of great stories, and Sheets, I'll sort of let you take it away, but we thought we'd have a fun little game. Basically, we'd give away sort of whatever you want, whether it be like a half-hour training lesson of poker, DFS, whatever you want. I'm happy to do it with you. We could do it with me, you, and Sheets. We could do it, even bring you on air sometime, something like that. We haven't figured out the exact prize yet, but the idea was basically to try and name as many people in this picture. And Sheets, why don't you go ahead and explain a little bit about this?
Yeah, first of all, like I said, we had a really good video that we were going to give you yesterday. We just had to run a little bit better. Bobby and I were in the same, we were in a home game. They were playing together, a home game tournament. And we were both like pretty deep, and we both had a lot of chips. And the final table was going to be 6 people. And we were both on really collision course to being at the final table together, in which case it would have been like literally the greatest video of all time, because I would have recorded mine with my whole cards, and then we would have, just ran it, to see what happens. But Bobby went out 7th and I went out 6th. So that's the way that worked out, which whatever. So this is what this is. So I as you guys know, I used to back people, and I also kept kind of a website where I'm not going to put the website on because then it'll allow cheating, but website where, among other things, I put some spreadsheets up for people to use. I put some tools up for people to use calculations. Just a whole learning kind of website for my players, which actually morphed into some of the spreadsheets I put up on Poker X Factor when I ran the training site. But what this was kind of like a little fun thing that when Cliff and I were partners, we put up together, where whenever somebody won like a really big live tournament for us, we would just kind of put the picture of their whatever their news picture was, whatever they took as their, I won picture. And we kind of kept it up there just, kind of for fun. And I tried this with a player or two once, a couple of times, with minimal to moderate success. So I'm going to put it up there for you guys. Now, again, a lot of you guys that follow us are DFS guys and not poker guys, but I'd like to think that a lot of you guys are both. So what we're going to do is we're going to tweak this. We're going to put it up there. And this is only available for followers on Bobby's YouTube channel. So if you're going there for the first time, you've got to be a follower. You got to hit follow, like, whatever it is that Bobby needs you to do. And this is the contest. Very simple. What you have to do is you have to name all the people in this picture. Now, again, I'm not being a dick. Like in some of these pictures with crowds in them, you don't have to mention who's in the crowd. You don't have to mention the announcer. Just the player that's depicted. And you'll see that there are a couple of kind of duplicates. Like you don't have to mention, if you see somebody in the picture twice in 2 different pictures, you don't have to mention them there, but just how many of the unique players that you can mention. Now, if you want to show off, you can also tell me their online name. So I guess if there's a tie, if somebody somehow manages to get them all, which is going to be very unlikely, then the tiebreaker is going to become how many of their online names do you know? But let's just start with how many of their real life names can you come up with, okay? So these are all the guys, and if you say, oh, I can't quite make them out, well, that's part of variance, I guess. But I think there are 18, 19 guys, something like that. And that's all you got to do. And if you come up with it, whoever is the winner, Bobby or I will do, if you're a DFS guy, we'll do like a slate review. Like whenever DFS comes back, if you want us to give you a personal coaching or look at your lineups or look at whatever. I mean, literally, you have an hour of our time. Let's put it that way, however you want to use it. And like, let's say you play poker now and you want us to look at poker hands for you, we'll do that. You know what I mean? Just literally, you have an hour of our time. The only thing I'm not going to do is stock market stuff. But you literally have an hour of our time to do with it. Whatever it is you want related to gambling, more than happy to do it. So we're going to put this on the YouTube channel, and we're going to see how you guys do, because some of them are easy, some of them are hard, and it's very difficult to have the right skill set and the right range of how when you played to get them all. I will give you this one hint that these guys, some of them don't look like this anymore. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these are like several years ago, and you know, poker players don't live the healthy life sometimes. So some of them might look a little grim nowadays. If you pulled up on that could be another thing we do.
Direction, by the way.
That's true.
Some
That's true. There's I don't want to give it away. There are a couple of them who look just a hell of a lot better than here. That is another thing you could do. You could do before and after type pictures, which would be kind of gross.
Can I tell you a funny story?
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'll tell you off air. But I was on a dating app after my girlfriend and I broke up maybe 4 years ago. So I was staying at again, another guy who's not on this list, but you at one point back. I was staying at his house with his wife and his kids. I was just sort of, going through a relationship breakup. I woke up and he had signed me up for all these dating sites on my phone. He was big on the get back out there, you're Bobby. Let's not worry about this too much. But one of the first people I ended up talking to and going out with was a sister from one of the people in this group. And
Really?
Somebody I met completely separately. We had no idea when we went to go meet each other. And it was the sister of somebody on this group. And the surprising one was, it was probably like the least likely sister of any of them. It was up in San Francisco where she lives and he does not. I'll tell you that. But I thought that was kind of a funny little side story, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah, just a weirdly small world in that way.
Yeah. So let me ask you. I have another question. I have a totally random question for you, which I've been thinking about the last couple of days. We've been thinking about poker a little bit more. Like back in let's say the day, whatever. There was a time where, well, first of all, there was a time where there were, I don't want to use the word disparagingly, but there were, let's put it this way, like there were girls who would really chase after poker players, like the big live poker players or whoever it was. And like poker players would have, access, let's put it that way, to some girls that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to have access to had they not been poker players. That's about the nicest way I could say it. And the other thing, I'm going to get to my question in a second. The other thing is that over time, there were a great amount of women who became really, really good poker players. Mm-hmm. And, some of them originally got their start because, there were some girls who obviously were just really, really good looking and poker sites wanted to hire good looking girls and they weren't really good. But then there were other like really, really sharp girls and women, females, whatever you want, who became really, really good at poker, and they kind of, made a really name for themselves, and that it's really good for the game, such that there was, now that there's women's tournaments and all this stuff. What I'm getting at is there any women, I don't use the word, or the best word I can come up with, women penetration into the DFS community? Like, are there girls that are DFX experts or DFS players?
There are women who are getting more and more into it. There aren't a ton. We have some followers that are, which is nice. Little shout out to Nita Rodriguez. Always jumps into all of our chats and says hello. Yeah, there's some. There just aren't very many. Nicole from Roto Grinders, Nicole Valencia. She's she does a lot of the developmental stuff for them. So she's a good DFS player. Like there's people there. I don't think you'll see the same boom you did with poker. There was sort of a more. It was funny because there was partly like a dirty thing about poker, but there was also sort of a sexy thing about it. Like it was a straight, fine line. And even with the things that a lot of the people, by the way, who were poker players, a lot of people who played a lot of World Series events were not poker players. They were guys who were rich and could afford to go out there for a couple weeks and, be a hot shot or try to be or whatever. Those were the guys I always thought had the most beautiful girls with them. And they were sort of girls who were just my point is that I think that part of it was poker, but part of it was just hanging on and gravitating it towards where there's at least an appearance of money.
That's interesting.
And I don't think it was so much of a woman thing. I mean, I don't want to get into some specifics, but there are some good women professional players, some of the most famous initial women players that I'm not sure were necessarily not getting taken advantage of the other way. Where a good-looking man was doing this. And I have one specific example that, again, I'll tell you off air. But this was a famous woman poker player, and there was a lot of people who, in hindsight, definitely thought her husband took advantage of her and used her to further his life.
Wow.
I'm surprised you haven't figured out who I'm talking about, but it's a person I'm talking about going way back in poker. Like at least for me, at the beginning of poker. The first person who hugged me when I busted a WPT for when I lost Aces Ace Queen for 1 million chips, who gave up and gave me a hug. She was a sweetheart. But anyway,
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about this because I have a feeling I know where you're headed with this, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it offline, I suppose.
You might know more than I do, so I don't know. This is just what I've heard from some people. So anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah, we can get. What else can we talk about today? So name the pictures. I guess we could mention. Well, Sheets obviously gets all of them because he knows them all. I got 12. I counted back and I got 12 of them, I believe. It's going to be hard.
It's going to be hard. It's just going to be hard, which is what makes it fun. You know what I mean? And by the way, the people who are excluded from this, let's just say you know who you are. In other words, like if there's someone who I know personally who I've done this with before, you know what I mean? Like somebody that I backed who, this means you below. If you're out there, you're ineligible, okay?
Right.
Because you've done this before. So if you actually done this with me before, then you're out. But if you just happen to be, know the same guys I know, then you're eligible. How about that?
Yeah, sounds good. And yeah, like you said the thing about naming their online name, but that would be a big one. But you could name the other people who were in there as well. I had some of these pictures, some of the backgrounds of some of these pictures. Some of them are kind of interesting.
That is kind of true. But I mean, like if you're going to name these guys in the crowd in this picture and stuff.
Yeah.
If you want to name the announcers, I suppose you could, whatever it is.
What I want to know is when Blow Above won, who was the woman? I don't remember the female host back then. I thought it was.
I don't know either.
I thought it was during that time when, what was that woman's name? Because she was who was she? She was somebody newer that I knew, but I didn't know her. She was a beautiful young woman anyway. She was the one who was on WPT for a long time. I just don't recognize this one.
Now, if we were really like if there was like a real DFS expert, like who was one of those stat guys and one of those people that make projections and those really, really smart guys, we had him here. What I also love to do, that would be the next level thing, is I can like put salaries on these guys and see like who I think the odds are that you guys would be able to get, like give you more points for like certain guys. Because like I know there's some guys that everybody's going to get, and I know that there's some guys that are just would be like that 3K player that really is not like really rates to be gotten by so many people. So that would be
actually just kind of interesting. I like that call. I did pretty funny.
Yeah, so like there's some guys that if you don't get, you're just hopeless. And either that or you just don't know anything about poker, which is totally fine. But even if you don't know anything about poker, there are a couple of guys you should probably get. And there's some guys that you got to be a real, I'll throw it out there. Like if you can get like the guy in the bottom center, for example, like that's a rough one. You know, that is a rough one. I'm not saying, whatever, he's, totally legit, bracelet winner, maybe multiple bracelet winner, but possibly just one bracelet winner. And, follows me on Twitter. I follow him on Twitter. Nice guy, just played for me, all this stuff. But he's just like not very famous. That's the best I could say. But as far as poker players go, if you were a real guy who played online, who played everything, who knew whatever, you got a shot. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty wild. That's pretty fun. It's got me sort of itching to play poker again today, which I'm, by the way, Sheets, I need to talk to you about this because what I'm going through is that I did okay yesterday. It's not just about what's going to feel, these tournaments can get expensive in a hurry. Playing these slates is actually, you could argue that they're more expensive than the normal Sunday slates every day now because of the re-entry factor.
Yep.
And you get, multiple 600s every day.
I was going to say, you got to be in for like 5K a day in these slates.
If you want to play it fully, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not really playing it fully. I actually think that the right way, when I used to play these types of re-entry tournaments, maybe it's worth talking to a little poker strategy. My personal thing is I would rather, if I'm going to be rebuying it, if I'm going to play a consistent enough amount of poker, if I'm going to be re-entering a tournament with 15 or 20 big blinds, when everybody else started with 100 or whatever, and been playing for an hour and a half, it just is not, it's not optimal to me. If I'm just playing that one day and I'm just playing one tournament and I have exactly that amount left in my account to play at that amount, maybe I would do that, but it's not the optimum way to go. And everybody else is re-entering left and right as if that, they'll re-enter with 8 big blinds. They'll re-enter a tournament that, $600 buy-in tournament.
I will actually, again, I don't want to get, hey, maybe one day I will. I don't really want to get back into poker theory or stuff like that, but I'll actually send you a pretty involved article.
Because this didn't exist back then. Because
No. What I'm saying is recently, I want to send you a really interesting article which did the analysis of the impact of reentries and whether it's plus EV or negative EV to reenter and stuff like that. I think you might find it interesting. I didn't get through, all the details or challenge a lot of the assumptions, which is which is really an important thing, you know, like which assumptions are BS and which challenge. But I'll just get the overall conclusion is that late re-entering is really plus EV and is actually an argument against the re-entry system in general.
I'm confused at how that could even be possible, because how can it be extremely plus EV when just all you're doing is giving yourself like a 3-to-1 chip disadvantage and an only ship range? How can it be so plus EV?
Yeah, well, you can read through it and you make your own judgment. But,
Right.
but remember, at that point, there's also that much more money in the pool, and there are also that much more people out. You know what I mean? And that's the dead money, you know?
Yeah, so again, I won't get way into it, but just my personal feeling, I think the re-entry is an advantage if you're a good poker player, because the hardest thing sometimes when you're playing tournaments with other good players is building that initial 3-time stack of your original stack. So this gives you an opportunity to do it much easier. And if you are a better player, you get to see more hands and you have a lot longer to try and build up that stack. And a lot of people who are just going to be willing to, yesterday the guys were open shipping, at 25K in the 600.
Was it?
At 25.50, they're open shipping with ace queen offsuit. It doesn't feel so good when you run aces in the ace queen offsuit in that spot, but I'll take those odds any day. You know what I mean? Like when you're going to open shipping, that's what happens. It sort of plays like the old late Sunday 200 rebuy, which people always played like absolutely. I don't know if they were drunk or what, but it played like they were drunk in the rebuy period. I saw guys rebuy 40 times in those tournaments before.
That was amazing.
It was wild. Like you have to win the tournament to break even.
And it was 1,500 for rebuys and 1,500 for entry, and it was all 1,500. Like you didn't get a bonus for add-ons. It was just all 1,500s. That's it.
Yeah. Anyway, man, anything else before we close it out today? I know you.
No, that's good. We just want to it's kind of in the mood to do something a little more fun, and maybe tomorrow we'll do something fun with the DFS stuff. And again, that's where I have very little. My knowledge of these guys is much less than yours, but maybe we'll have some fun and needle some of the DFS guys and see how much people can hate us after that. We'll see.
It would be fun, and if we get that going again, we should stream before at the same final table.
Yes. Yeah. Sounds easy.
I actually didn't feel like it was going to be that hard. I mean, I was so distracted by other tournaments that I was just playing like an absolute bat out of hell, which is kind of the right way I like to play 6 matches anyway, especially with top. I'm just trying to win first. I don't really care about anything else. But it was like people at the table almost looked offended at the way I was playing. Like they were writing things in there going, "I'm sorry, guys. Like, what do you want me to do?"
Yeah, the skill in that tournament is very binary. Like somebody either knows how to play or they don't. There's really like nothing in the middle.
There's a lot of people who did not know how to play. There's far too much weird limping, weird flats. But there was also some people who made some seem like they knew how to play. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna get out of here. We're gonna get out of here for today. Guys, post your thoughts, and we'll just go in order of pictures. The first picture would be 1. The next picture would be 2. That's how you can sort of tell us who you're saying and where. But if you can just get the names right, even if it's mismatched, we're still going to give it to you. Write it in the YouTube chat. You can even write it out on Twitter if you want to, but I think that the YouTube chat would be the easiest just because we'll leave that open. But make sure you subscribe because we're only going to be doing this for subscribers. So it's a pretty good deal. I mean, hey, look, I was charging a lot of money for people to do lessons not too long ago, and Sheets.
Yeah, honestly, what, guys? Listen, this is nothing to angle. Just do me a favor. Just come up with your list, put it in like a file or whatever, and just cut and just paste it in there. Don't look at what other people wrote in. You know what I mean? Just let's go on the honor system. I thought of all these different controls that we could use to do whatever, but this is supposed to be fun. Just come up with your answers and just paste it in there. And if someone I don't know comes in and pastes in all 19, I'll just know you cheated anyway. Okay. So just do your best to be honest about it. I was going to say it's only going to be on from 7 to 7:01 p.m. or something like that. It's the only time you can put your answers in, but we'll check it a little later and let's call it at midnight or something like that, or until we come on the next time, whatever it is. Yeah. And that's it.
All right. Sounds good, man. We're going to get out of here, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay safe out there, guys.